1 Nindie Tri-Fecta. 2 Nindie Tri-Fectas. 3 Nindie Tri-Fectas. Oh, ho, ho, ho.
Greetings, citizens, and thanks for tuning in to Nindie Nation episode 177. I'm Jeff, and today we've got a banger of a lineup as we're checking out every indie game hitting the Nintendo Switch this week. Head on down to the comments and tell me which games you're stoked for, as well as what you'd like to see more of this Thursday during our Nindies Nite stream. It's always a great week when we get to start with a Nindie Tri-Fecta, so let's just cut everything else and get right into it. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and let's get started with the 15 new notable Nindies hitting the Nintendo Switch through Sunday, March 12th. We don't usually touch on downloadable content, but today we're making an exception because the week kicks off with the latest expansion to Dead Cells. If you've never played this game before, it's an easy top 10 Nindie and has seen a steady stream of meaty DLC ever since Motion Twin originally hit the scene in May of 2017. It's one of the purest forms of the Nindie Tri-Fecta, being a side-scrolling action platformer with procedurally generated levels, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements! And is a game I recommend for every person with a Switch. Yeah, even you. This week kicks off with the latest and biggest update yet, with Dead Cells Return to Castlevania launching for $9.99. I wanted to touch on it because this DLC looks like it is truly made with passion for the classic vampire hunting series. I know I'll be picking it up, and if by some chance you don't already have Dead Cells, you can grab it with the Castlevania DLC for $22.99, or pick up the core game with all 4 of its expansions for $31.99. Let me ask you this, citizens. How many boss cells have you cleared? Tell me down in the comments. The sole release we're covering on Tuesday the 7th is one I'm quite excited about and seemed to come out of nowhere. Oddly enough, the way I'd describe Pronte is very similar to the way I would describe last year's The Night Witch, and seeing as that game made it on our Game of the Year list, we're off to a good start. Coming by way of 18 Light,
Fun Zone Games, and Joybrick with porting assistance from Happinet, an indie collective under the Bandai Namco umbrella.
Pronte released on PC in 2021 to very positive reviews. It's a Metroidvania that takes place underwater, where you can free roam around large 2D maps as you uncover secrets and protect the Atlantis-like city from mutant sea creatures. And really, almost all of that is shockingly similar to The Night Witch. One aspect I really like is how the combat is handled. You play as Pronte, but your attacks are delivered by a javelin named Pronte. It attacks while Pronte is focused on dodging attacks. There's also no shortage of comparisons to BioShock's City of Rapture and Hollow Knight's environmental variety, and while there aren't a ton of critic reviews, the user reviews across every outlet I can find are glowing with praise. Suffice it to say, I'm very excited to check out Pronte when it releases with a 10% discount for $13.49. There are 0 games releasing on Wednesday the 8th, which means we now set our sights on an exceptionally large Big Thursday drop. Wired Productions, who we last saw with Arcade Paradise, Close to the Sun, and Avicii and Vector, is digging into the coffers of yesteryear with their latest entry in the Tiny Troopers series, Tiny Troopers Global Ops, releasing for $19.99. Since its first release in 2012, Metacritic scores across the half-dozen titles sit at a solid 5 out of 10, though the mobile entries have fared much better. Global Ops is an arcade-oriented twin-stick shooter where you control a team of 4 characters by yourself or with other players, assuming each of the titular Tiny Troopers. If you dig the top-down mission-based shooters and have a few friends to play with, it might be worth throwing on the wish list, but probably don't set your expectations too high. But do get your hopes up if you're still looking for some isometric action, because Figment II Creed Valley finally releases for $24.99. When the original dropped in 2018, people loved the music and rhythm-oriented design of the boss fights, and the silliness that ensued when adventuring through the world of someone's mind. though most reviewers agreed it was a bit rough around the edges and that a sequel would surely prove the game's concept much further. Well, fast forward 5 years later, and here we are, exploring the world of Creed Valley, where apparently the mind's ideals are formed. This time, the music themes are present throughout the entire game, and the world comes alive to the tune of every quirky, catchy song. Just listen to this. How could you not be enticed by that? Fans of games like Bastion or other narrative-heavy isometric adventures should be right at home with Figment 2. And if you're on the fence, not only is there a demo for the sequel and the original to tinker with, but the original is only $2 on Switch right now and completely free on Steam. With a new 2-player mode, a mechanic that has you switching between the world of open and closed mines, a soundtrack full of earworms, and an art style that looks even better than the original, Bedtime Games Digital looks like they've got quite the winner on their hands. And, I guess in our minds, too. Ooh, that's deep.
Know by Heart is a game about accepting loss. The plot, the music, the intuitive gameplay, and atmospheric mini-games work together to weave an illusion of briefly returning to one's childhood and inevitably growing up. The feeling of time slipping through our fingers. Players will be immersed in the quiet life of a provincial Russian town where traces and echoes of the Soviet era can still be seen and heard. Misha, the protagonist, is stuck in his monotonous, dead-end job, until one day the routine is shattered as his school crush returns to town.
Yep, that's the description for Know by Heart. I watched the trailers and thought it was depressing art house nonsense and couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. That said, this isn't my type of game. It's developed by Ice Pick Lodge, who has developed a handful of games with positive reviews, and Know by Heart has also been very well received. So if you're down to live the life of a depressed, nostalgic, lovesick Russian, Know by Heart is just waiting to bum you out for $19.99. For me, though, it's certainly not a game I'll be Russian to play. This next game, and the developer behind it, are the kind of thing that makes me proud to be a gamer. Skinny Bandit Studio is a small Norwegian team who was founded in 2018 with the specific goal of making the kind of games we want to play, but in a way that is kid-friendly, specifically so that parents can play with their children. Their first release comes to Switch this week, and I am loving everything I'm seeing about Mari and Bayou: The Road Home. It's got a lot of Ori vibes to start, which is always a good thing, and you play as Mari the ant, who's far from home and must not only track down her brother, but also rescue her fellow ant, family? Hive? What do you call a group of ants? A mound? A gaggle? Maybe it's like crows and it's called an ant murder. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, here's where it gets cool. So you can see the visuals look great, but you're also seeing another character on screen, and that little guy is, you guessed it, Bayou. And Bayou is a firefly. The game can be played solo, where you swap between characters, but it's meant to be played with a partner. Kid, spouse, friend, whatever. Whoever controls Mari is focused on platforming and timing, and whoever controls Bayou is using the tools and magic at their disposal to help solve puzzles, which then help Mari on her adventure. Releasing for $16.99, I have no idea if the game is good, but I would love to find out. I'm reaching out to the team at Skinny Bandit and Plug-in Digital to see if I can rope one of my kids into checking it out with me. So stay tuned, as I just might let a certain 10-year-old stay up past her bedtime and join us this week on Nindies at Night. We'll see, though. Okay, you might remember this next one from the last Indie World, and the more I look at it, the more I am all about Oni, Road to be the Mightiest Oni. I'm sorry, something about that name just cracks me up. Now, bear with me here. It's like a bite-sized Breath of the Wild with characters that look straight out of Dragon Quest, featuring a soundtrack by Utada, most known outside of Japan for Kingdom Hearts, and combat that's like, I don't know, a Diet Devil May Cry? From Kene Design, Clouded Leopard Entertainment, and Shueisha Games, Oni follows this little goblin dude named Kuda, who fights with a club and gets stronger by sucking up spirits using his spirit friend Kazamaru. However, besides fighting on the 3 small islands, you can also level up seemingly Skyrim style, meaning if you're sneaking around, running away, or even picking mushrooms, you can still get stronger, so it's pretty open-ended. In fact, the whole marketing vibe of this game is very much a
do your own thing in a small open world.
And I really dig that. I've never worked with any of these teams, and I suspect there might be a language barrier in order to do so. But don't you worry, citizens. I'm gonna do my damnedest to get a copy for Nindies Nite so that we can check it out together before Oni drops for $26.99. Atari's got another revamped classic this week. However, this time around, Adam Nickerson of Atom Vision Studios is back at the helm for Caverns of Mars Recharged, which releases for $9.99. This game, based on a 1981 classic I've never heard of, is a lot like Downwell. You fly a spaceship downwards, fast, like really fast, and you slow down whenever you shoot your guns, which fire straight down. You survive as long as you can, try to reach the bottom, and that's pretty much it. There's an expectedly great soundtrack, 2-player challenge or co-op, and a bunch of different modes, so just like everything else with Atom Vision's seal on it, I suspect Caverns of Mars Recharged will be a pretty fun time. Then we've got what seems to be a weekly recurring theme lately, as French studio Ishtar Games is releasing a dark fantasy tactical RPG with The Last Spell for $24.99. But there's a lot going on here that I am really feeling. First off, it's published by the Arcade Crew, who undoubtedly was my favorite publisher of 2022, releasing games like Young Souls, Infernax, and Blazing Chrome. Second is the premise, which is pretty sick. In order to stop an apocalypse of demons, the most powerful mages plan to cast the last spell, which will purge the world of all the bad things. Problem is, it takes several days to summon the spell, and those mages need protection while doing so. And third is how you do it, because the last spell is a tactical horde defense RPG with procedurally generated levels, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements! Out the frickin' wazoo! During the day, you level up characters, equip new spells and gear, and fortify your base, which is protecting the mages who are busy doing their magey thing. At night, as they tend to do, the demon monster horde comes after you, and you need to defend against it through your use of structural defenses, artillery, and a massive cast of ridiculously customizable characters. Seriously, this is a game for the nerdiest of RPG nerds. Tons of gear, an enormous amount of building materials, and an open-ended class design that lets you completely customize every character in your party to your exact liking. Hope you make it to the next day, hope you protect all 5 havens, and if you fail, you do the whole roguelike upgrading thing and then you give it another go. This game looks awesome, and by all means, it looks set to deliver. What do you think? Anyone gonna check this one out? Let me know down in the comments if so. Ib, on the other hand, another indie world reveal from a few months back, is also releasing, and this is the exact kind of game I never play. You're a girl in an art museum,
Already on the wrong track.
playing through a narrative adventure game,
Yep, I'm pretty much out.
then suddenly everyone vanishes and you're all alone.
That sounds like my personal hell.
Then just to make matters worse, it gets riddled with puzzles and becomes all artsy-fartsy spooky-dooky. This is actually a ground-up remake from the original Ib, which released in 2012, and includes new accessibility options, a new soundtrack, and a bunch of new endings to unlock. For as much as this isn't my type of game, it comes with a lot of hype and a lot of love for the original. So if spooky art gallery adventures are up your alley, you can check this one out when it releases by way of Corey and
Playism!
for $14.99. Peakvox is a Japanese developer with a knack for quirky PC games that get a lot of praise. This week, they release one of the weirdest things I've seen in a while with Chippy and Nopo for $19.99. It's an action puzzle platform co-op game where you play as, well, Chippy, the little short dude, and Nopo, the tall dude. And they work in a factory where they build things. The game plops you into a level and gives you a 3D prompt of something you need to build. Let's say a race car. You explore and track down all the pieces you need, figure out how to get them back to the staging area, almost Pikmin-like, and then you build them. It seems to me like a 3D, much more detailed take on something like Snipper Clips. And as it's been the case multiple times already in this episode, you can control 2 players on your own or bring in a friend for co-op. It looks like a good time as long as you could manage to not scream horrible things at your partner, but this also seems like the perfect game to get a demo. I'll keep my eye out and let you know if that happens. And you know what? Today I learned that Japanese developer Zoo Corporation, who's been making cute little puzzle games and porting AAA console games to PC since the mid-90s, only counts gaming as one half of their business, with the other half being medical prescription computer software. And now, we all learned something today. You're welcome. Okay, so this one's gonna be super easy. Mystic Gate, right? It's $10. I have no idea what the hell it's about story-wise, but I do know that it's a top-down twin-stick shooter that looks to fit somewhere between Nuclear Throne and Enter the Gungeon, and comes complete with procedurally generated levels, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements! Plus, it's got a pretty bitchin' soundtrack. There's a lot more words I could read about this game, but after watching a couple of trailers, namely the ones you're watching right now, I'm sold. You sold? Are we sold? So, I first learned about Zappling Bygone when I received an unsolicited code for the game via a service I almost never use. It's like the indie game developer version of an Uber driver picking up some random dude who immediately starts hawking his mixtape on the unsuspecting driver, and that rarely ends well. However, you're already seeing the game's oddly unsettling visuals, so you know at least a little bit of what we're dealing with here, but it was the Steam description that really won me over.
Zappling Bygone is a twisted Metroidvania where you murder your foes and steal their abilities by wearing their skulls and absorbing their consciousness into your hive mind.
And I mean, that sounds pretty metal to me. It's developed by Nine Finger Games, which makes me wonder which one they're missing and why. And though there aren't a ton of reviews from last year's Steam release, they are all very positive. It releases for $12.99, and I guess if you want to see it on Nindies Nite, let me know, because apparently I already have a copy.
Damn it, they got me!
Phew! Finally, on to Friday the 10th. Told you it was a big Thursday drop. Roguelike's release for the week is called Evil Up, which claims to be a journey for fans of procedurally generated fantasy worlds.
Roguelike adventure and built for RPG!
Ow. Here's the thing. I see top-down 8-bit visuals, I see crafting, quests, claims of 15 hours of gameplay, but there's no trailer when I'm writing this, so I can't tell if this is real-time or turn-based or what. And let me tell you, searching anywhere on the internet for the term Evil Up apparently takes me to interweb hell. Roguelike is pretty good about releasing trailers though, so you're probably watching the game's footage right now and having already answered the question for yourself. So, if you like what you see, it releases for $5.99? And finally, we've got the very odd Saturday release, which happens to fall on 3/11, so blaze it up, all you rap rock kids, because Titanium Hound is here to round out the week for $12.75. I think this 2D cyberpunk action game where you pilot a sweet mech looks really cool, but you know, I have never read so much about a game, watching 3 Let's Plays, a couple of trailers, and checking every store's description, and still have had no idea what a game is trying to do. Steam says I'll like it because I like 30XX, so that's good. I mean, it looks like Mega Man, or Contra, or some kind of run and gun. But then there's constant objectives to tackle as if the levels are open-ended. Then there's a crafting system. Then the trailers say the game has puzzles.
Titanium Hound, what the hell are you?
I don't know what to tell you guys, but I'm certainly interested. Also, guys, you were the ones that named your development studio, and I'm sure you thought it was some cool sci-fi reference, but I gotta tell ya, I think much less cool sci-fi thing and much more terribly unfortunate bathroom accident when I read the name Red Spot Sylphinia. But maybe that's just me.
Oh, post-recording update. Got an update for you.
I just got a code for this game as well, unsolicited as well, but if you want to play it, we can play it this week, so there you go. Hey, it's time for my obligatory "Wow, what a week" comment, followed by something like,
I'm taking Pronte, Mari and the Bayou.
Oni, the last spell, Mystic Gate.
Zappling, Bygone, and maybe Titanium Hound. And then I give some kind of call to action like,
What do you think? Let me know down in the comments.
really is a great week though. All kinds of stuff to play. Next week, the nostalgia-fueled acid trip called Post Void looks pretty cool, and I can't believe someone is re-releasing the old PC game Terminal Velocity. I used to love that game. But looking toward the end of the month, we've got Have a Nice Death the following week, and then Blade Assault. So, us indie gamers, we be eating good. But for now, my friends, it's time to stop talking about indie games, and time to start playing them. Thanks as always for watching, liking, subscribing, and sharing Nindie Nation with others. Don't forget we've got a hop-in Discord and would love to have you join us. And this Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern, we'll be streaming whatever games are on screen right now during Nindies Nite, and we hope you'll stop by. Until next week, I'm Jeff. This has been Nindie Nation episode 177, and remember, no matter what type of game you're looking for, Nindie Nation will be right here to help you find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced.